Hi, I'm Barry Sahasian. This video is slap bass in the beginning. You just bought your bass, or you've been playing bass for a while, and you decided you've got to have the slap technique. First thing I usually do with my students is to go over posture. Posture is very important because if without good posture, it's going to make it more difficult to play things. And it's very easy to embrace, and I want to show you my posture and how I think of it. And also, I got to point out there are two types of posture as a bass player. There is one posture when you're sitting down, and there is another when you're standing up. It's a little bit different. At times, I've practiced a lot in sitting down, and then when I went up to do a gig or something, it felt out of place, sort of, So I think when you practice, you have to balance it. If you're going to be playing in a band or a jam session, if you're going to always be sitting down while you're playing, like that's what I do at this time, it's probably not important anymore. So let's get started. The posture. So you sit in the chair and, with your back straight, relaxed, and now you have the bass lying on your thigh. So that's okay. And, sometimes you'll have a bass, it doesn't work, they're not all perfectly balanced. This one is not either when it's on your thigh. So how you get around that is you kind of lean your forearm on the back of the bass, and or when you can't use your forearm, you put you help balance it with your left hand while you're playing on the neck. And that works out pretty well for me. The next thing I'd like to discuss is levitating your right leg. I do that by putting my foot on top of the wheel of the chair. This is an office chair. Maybe you won't have anything to elevate you. And this really helps. It kind of helps, prevents it from sliding off your knee, and it gives you a little more of a balance. If you don't have, an office chair, you can use one of these. These work well too, and you can adjust how high it wants to be. With the office chair, you're stuck with a couple of inches only. This will go even higher than that. So you can find a real nice comfort zone, and it makes things a lot easier. So the next thing we want to talk about is left hand. So as far as the left hand goes, what I do with my new students, and usually this has to be addressed because they come in and they're looking deformed a little bit, and I wonder, well, that's not going to work. In one case, I had a guitar student, 6 years old, and his parents bought him a dreadnought guitar. He loved playing, and he didn't care. He was kind of playing like this because he couldn't. His arm was small, and he was a child, 6 years old, and the dreadnought was huge. You know how big they are, and he still managed to play, but it was very awkward for him and everything. And I finally told his parents, buy him an electric guitar because it's smaller. It'll fit his body better. Anyway, so now that we've discussed that, let's get started with the left hand, as I said. What I do with the left hand. Okay, with the left hand, what I usually do with a new student is I get a book, a book like this, and I hand it to them. And they grab the book like this here. And I see that's the way you hold the neck. In other words, your thumb against your fingers. And, you kind of arch it. You take the book away, take a hand, bring it over here, and slip it in, and you got it. So also I'd like to say the thumb behind the center of the neck, for the most part, gives you the most flexibility to be able to play lines. Of course, you've seen guitar players and bass players play like this with the thumb hanging over the neck. This restricts your motion tremendously, and it's not a good idea, in my opinion, because you can't really move around that much. But if you're playing a metal line or a song with it doesn't really matter because you're not really moving your fingers much. So that's my advice on left hand technique. Now, right hand technique and slap, it's going to take a minute. So first off, real quick, tip of the thumb to the knuckle is where you strike. Next thing you must know is your hand has got to be loose because you're going to be using a motion like this, and a lot of people around the internet call it like a doorknob, turning a doorknob. But one more item I'd like to add is it has to be loose, sort of, and this is the way I explain it. You hang your hand like this, and make it as limp as you can, and shake from the elbow, and your hand moves back and forth. If you can get to that point with the slap, then you'll be doing okay. So then, where do you strike the string? Most people agree that you strike the string right at the last fret. But you don't have to do that if you're just slapping. You can slap anywhere. Move around. But when you want to pop it, you have to get in a place where you can get your finger under the string and pull it. Depending on how your guitar is constructed, I have only a small space here between my pickup and the end of the neck. So if I'm going to pop, I got to be right there. In the 80s, Larry Graham came around, Sly and the Family Stones, and that was the new big thing, slapping the bass, and Brothers Johnson. So everyone was excited and wanted to learn the technique, as well as myself. So in addition, at that time I decided I would publish some books, write some books. So I wrote 3 books on slap. Thumb and Snap Bass, Volume 1, 2, and 3. There's about 150 examples in those books. And we're going to start today. I'm going to give you each new lick will introduce a new aspect of slapping. You will get to know it piece by piece and hopefully get to your destination of being a great slapper ASAP with no wasted time. Let's get started with some examples. Okay, there are 3 elements of slap we must look at before we do anything further. We have the slapped note. We have the dead note. And we have the pop. Let's take them one by one. We'll start with the slapped note. Left hand fretted right before the fret, nice and firm. You want to get your best sound. We don't want the left hand to mess up what the right hand's going to sound like. So now, once again, hand is limp. And now we transpose it into the doorknob. Now let's hit some notes. We're listening. We want just the right velocity, the right attack to make the best sound. So you're doing a little bit of feedback, seeing where it happens for you. And you don't want too loud, too hard, too stiff. Stiff, not stiff. We don't want stiff. We want loose and just the right attack. That's where you have to use That's where you have to use a little feedback. How does it sound? I missed a couple of notes there on purpose. You know, you want to try not to do that. You want to hit the note square every time. If you have to watch your hand, that's okay. Now let's try to make it in perfect time. Let's go a little faster in time. Okay, that's the slap. Now the pop. You can use either finger for the pop. Index or middle, whichever you're comfortable with. Eventually you might wind up popping with both fingers alternately. But that's down the road. So I'm going to use the index. We'll start with the long note. It's called legato. Once again, just the right attack to make it sound its best. Not hard enough. Almost there. Now you hear it pop. Too hard. Back off a little. Now make the note a little shorter. Just the right velocity, the right attack. You're listening. How do I make it sound as best as it can? How hard do I have to pop it? That's what we're concentrating on now. the dead notes. Okay, the dead note gets a little tricky because if you don't deaden it right, you'll hear a harmonic, and it kind of muds up the sound. You don't want that. So you have to kind of lie your fingers across the neck, and sometimes in different positions it's going to create a harmonic anyway, almost no matter how hard you try, and you might want to put one of those little sleeves over the end of your neck to prevent that. But if I like to, I'm experienced, but I like to mute everything with my left hand. That takes a little time in bass playing. So we're going to go. Now that's a nice dead note. You don't hear any ringing. But if you're not careful, you'll hear these ringing sounds. And it ruins it. It muds it up. And the way you do that is you have to adjust your hand, how it lies on the neck, until you can find that place where there is nothing but the dead note. All right, we got that. Now, the next thing we have to do is play a slapped note and a popped note. You don't have to worry about playing in time. You just want to try to hit each one with that right velocity to make it sound the best you can. Sometimes you miss a note. That will get better with practice. Miss a note, whoops. I'm doing it on purpose. Hit it accidentally the wrong way, you get a harmonic. I'm doing that on purpose again. Just to correct it. Left hand has got to be a little relaxed too. You don't want to squeeze too hard with your left hand either. And you want this hand, once again, limp. Left hand's got to be loose too. If you start pressing down real hard, it throws things out of balance. That's when you get your bad notes. Now, let's play a line with the dead note, the slap, and the pop. Let's make it a little easier. Hand loose with the right hand. Left hand presses the note down right on the fret, but don't tense up. Keep everything loose. Listen to your tone. Use feedback. Too hard, not hard enough. Too stiff, too hard. Miss note. All of these things will happen. But you will get better with practice, and that's the first step, just getting that down. Now we'd like to play something that's a little more musical, and it'll be very simple, but it's gratifying to play something for yourself that actually sounds musical, that is not an exercise. If you like this video, please subscribe, like, comment, hit the bell to be notified of all the videos yet to come. I have a lot more I'd like to show you. Thanks for stopping by and hope to see you again.